I told you that...
in the office.
So did you work there as well? Oh.
They were talking about it on the video the other night when you had all the children around.
First of all, a chap who was at my school, and he'd gone to a firm of chartered accountants, auditors. And this chap who ran his little business of chartered accountant was a Jewish gentleman. He was quite shrewd, and he got boys from our school where we did quite a bit of business studies, bookkeeping, we learned French, and shorthand, typing, carpentry, metalwork, the lot. You know, it was a very comprehensive education. And he came to the school looking for a junior for their office. And I was the junior that he picked out. I said, nice chap. And I went there. I should have letters dictated by the boss and answer the telephone. And if he was out for lunch, he'd say, "Here, Lowe, here's sixpence. Go and buy yourself a sandwich." The sixpence, I buy myself a sandwich. That means I had to be in the office, my lunch hour, look after the telephone. You see. And anyway, I was there for several years and didn't think too much about moving. I was paid the princely sum when I went there of 15 shillings a week, of which half a crown went in my season ticket to get there and back. 15 shillings a week. And after working there for about 3 years or more, I think my pay had risen to the princely sum of 25 shillings a week. And I was in his office once, he just take the letter or something, and the senior clerk was there. He was quite a nice chap. So I used to go out on audits. When I wasn't required, I went out as a junior audit clerk, was in the tot-up figure, or what they call vouching. It doesn't happen these days. But you went through things and say, stamp the thing, make sure it was all agreed and above board and everything else. And he turned to me, the boss, and he said, "You know, Lowe," he said, "I could get a girl to do your job for 30 shillings a week." Well, that was it. I said, "In that case, sir, you better find that girl pretty quick, because I mean, you only pay me 25 shillings a week. That was the end of my career with a chartered accountant. I went round to an agency, and they said, "Well, put down on here what you can do." Well, I could do an awful lot of things. I got an interview for the company that owned Queen Anne's Mansions, which you've just seen the picture up there. Have you seen the picture of Queen Anne's Mansions? If not, I'll show it to you. And the Hyde Park Hotel. And I went there, and when I arrived, it was a damn great mansion, and they were just putting new carpet on the floors, and the corridors were about as wide as from there to there, very wide corridor. And in the middle, this beautiful carpet was going down there. Couldn't hear, they walked on it, couldn't hear a thing. Walked down there to the office, and after interviewing me and others, I was chosen for the job. And the job was, as assistant to the secretary, doing what I was told to do, taking dictation, letters, answering the telephone, doing the books, seeing to dividend warrants, interest warrants, and all the things that come out of a company's office to deal with interest, dividends, and transfers, certificates, and all this. And what was I being paid? After my 25 shillings a week in the city, £2 a week, which was nearly twice as much. And on top of that, I got a free lunch, and I had my tea delivered to me from the waiter. Well, I couldn't go out the office. I was there to answer the telephone. And with my tea, I had two thickish pieces of bread and butter and some jam. And I had my tea when I could. I mean, it might wait there a little while. And I was always been apparently the thing that I told you that I mentioned to you that they had a room where the senior staff, I say senior staff, the head electrician, the head upholstery, they had all these people dealing with the chap who did all the upholstery and bought material, curtains and so on and so forth, and operating from his own office downstairs with an assistant. And there was a clerk of works, he used to have lunch there, and there was a head electrician, head painter, and they all had lunch in this big room, and also the ladies' maids and chauffeurs of anybody in the flats, they used to eat there as well. And the office staff, general office staff, and one or others, used to sit at a long table. There was about 8 or 9 people that side, about 8 or 9 here. And the secretary's assistant always used to sit at the top. Well, you think that I was 19 at the time, and there was all these elderly ladies. On the list there was a charming lady who used to operate in the control tower for the restaurant. And we used to play footy under the table. and they used to complain. They say, "Oh, we've got this again." I thought, complaining? We go to the city. Not yet, dear. We've got a drink in there.
We asked him.
Okay. Okay, so see, that's what happens to your children. See? Let them loose.
And they come back to rule you.
Yeah, that's it. And it was a very happy, I know, very happy company. And that's how we met.
When did you ask her out? Or did she ask you out?
No, I asked her out.
You asked her out?
I took her to the first rodeo, I thought it was rodeo, the rodeo that was held in this country at Queen's, at
White Hart Lane.
No,
White Hart Lane.
not White Hart Lane, there, no. White something.
White City.
White City. That's the White City where the football club is now. And we saw all these chaps on their Broncos and everything else, all the sort of things that you see in America. And that was quite interesting, wasn't it?
Mm.
And I took her to Palais, Hammersmith used to have a Palais de Dance, yes dear?
I've lost my glasses.
Lost your glasses, I'm always losing mine. Hammersmith had a Palais de Dance where they had the big band, a big floor, and you sit all around the tables up above. And we went there, and we came away. I saw on the train at Hammersmith to go to Jameson Park Station. And actually when I came out of the Palais de Dance, I think I had 4pence. I took my bit and a penny, and I had to get my coat, you see, so I thought, looked in as it was, but I'd better give him 4pence, you see, for looking after my coat and things. So I was left with a penny.
Okay.
I was very poor, and having seen my future wife on the train, I came out and 1 penny. Well, now, do I have a penny for bus now and then walk, or do I walk and then have a penny for bus? Because the fare was more than a penny, it was probably 2pence. And I can't actually remember whether I think I may have walked, I hadn't, in those days I was honest, I hadn't got a dishonest in me, otherwise I'd have got on the bus and got to the top of the bus as far away from there and pretend to be asleep, so he turned me off where I wanted to be turned off, but I hadn't got that sort of mind. And so I think I walked until the stage where it was only a penny, got on the bus, and then I was able to go home. So those are the days. And they say love is blind. I remember once we went to Victoria, I think we were cinema somewhere, and Mum had to get on the bus just to go down the road, and I saw her on the bus, you see, and I turned just to wave to her, and there was a lamppost there, and I went, I thought, love is blind.
James did that today for me too. He ran, I said, look up there, and he ran right into the trash can.
He looked up and then he trash can took him out.
I hugged the trash
Next
can.
question?
Hey, James, look!
Do you have a question?
Where you're going?
No?
No question?
Oh, actually, I was curious how they met. I didn't know how you guys actually met. So, playing footsies under the table, huh? Is that true?
Do you remember proposing?
I don't actually.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Uh-oh. You don't say that. You say yes. Then you just don't say anymore.
It just happened.
That just happened? She remembers.
He's an honest chap.
Well, there in those days, if the idea that we should, what I think is called, is shack up together, my wife's family would have been appalled, I think her family would have been even more appalled. So Joan had a flat in Hurlingham with a girl I met on holiday. I went on one of the school holidays, ostensibly to learn German. I wasn't doing German, but we thought it'd be a good trip to Germany, rather cheap. Pal and myself went over there. This was rather interesting too. It was a lovely small place. I can't think where it was in Germany now, but it was very pleasant.
You had your coffee, dear.
What did?
Have you had your
Drink my
coffee?
coffee now, okay. And they had tennis courts, but the tennis courts were locked off. And we went there with our tennis rackets, and balls to play. Couldn't get in. So the chaps went round because the tennis courts were set down, and above the netting the other side, very strong wire netting, the ground was up, you see. And they were trying to think, but there was a gap, whether they could get something from the land to the top of the fence, and they could go and then drop down into the court, you see, and have a game of tennis. There didn't seem to be anybody around there where we could pay anything. And while they was doing this, I was fiddling about the other side, and I managed to open the gate. I don't know how I did it, but I managed to do it, you see. So I went across there very quietly, looked up at these chaps, you see. They were still didn't notice me. And eventually I said, what are you trying to do up there? Do you want to get into the tennis courts? And they looked at me, how the hell are you going to the gate? We had a game of tennis, and then somebody came along and said, so we said, well, we're quite willing to pay whatever the charge is. How do you get in? We said, well, the gate was open, so we thought we'd have a game of tennis, you see. I'm afraid that was all a lie, but there we are. And that was part of the...
So the gate was open after you opened it?
Yeah. That wasn't open after I... Oh, yes. And they had one of these lovely half-circle domes where the orchestra took to sit across the other side of a pond. And you sat this side, and there was the water, and then there was a great thing. A lovely spectacle, and they have a orchestra there playing, what do you call it, classical music. So it was very nice. I enjoyed that holiday very much.
Did you learn any German?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Yeah, I learned a bit of German, not very much.
Gesundheit.
Pardon?
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit, what's that mean?
That's you, bless you.
Oh, bless you, yes.
That's the only word I know.
Nine. That's the only word I know.
We used to go to, we were quite young, we used to go to one of the beer houses where there'd be music and dancing, you see. And we had, in our party, there was a very nice chap who was a gentleman type, and he went over to there's some girls over there, you see, and he went over to them and he bowed in right and said, "Wouldn't Sie tanzen mit mir?" "Oh no, I guess not," you see. They were Americans, you see. And he was a bit chuffed with it and came up. My friend, who couldn't dance a bit, he went over and asked them for a dance in English, and they danced with him. This chap was a much better dancer. If they'd taken his offer, they'd be much better off. I know that. Würden Sie tanzen mit mir? Yes? You speak German?
No.
You don't. No, würden Sie tanzen mit mir is, obviously, but you dance with me.
Oh.
But the American girls didn't know that, so...
No, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, they were like us on a tour, or they'd been chaperoned by somebody, and they'd probably been warned, if anybody asks you to dance, don't, But they thought this chap, because he spoke quite nice German, said he was a German. No, he wasn't having any of that nonsense. We went to Heidelberg, which was a lovely city overlooking the Rhine, so that was beautiful. And went to a vineyard. And I remember going to a restaurant, of course, not knowing very much about German food and so on. I conceived the idea of walking around, something flying about, yes.
It flew over towards James and he just sort of looked at it.
It was a little gnat.
He didn't see it.
Oh well.
Sometimes you find the old one comes in with flowers, you should go to sleep on there, and the warmth brings them up. If he comes anywhere near me, I'll have him. But went to the restaurant, you see, couldn't understand what was on the menu. Purely German, no translations at all. So I got hold of one of the waiters and I walked round and I said, "Das." "Ah, yes." So I got das. I forget what das was now, sausage and mash, I expect. But that's what I got. And the chap said, where did you go there for? I said, oh, well, I ordered it from the way too, see. Well, there's a lot of leg pulling between us, you know, we pull each other's legs. And, that was my good friend Reg. A very nice chap, one of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet, wasn't he? Extreme. But well, that's life. Now, next question.
Nana doesn't have any stories?
Oh, Nana's got a feast of stories. You can drag them out of her. Yes?
No, I've not came to talk. You've done enough.
Oh,
Both of us. Yeah.
Now, did you both grow up in London?
yes.
Did you grow up in London as well? Did you grow up in London?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have brothers and sisters?
East London, I had 4 sisters,
4 sisters. Oh,
and I was the middle one.
okay.
And you, Grandad?
I had 2 brothers. Well spaced. Got it?
No, are those your brothers and are those your sisters?
Yes.
Yes.
Those are your sisters
Yes.
and those are his 2 brothers?
No.
No.
No?
No, they
No, the
were.
husbands.
Oh, the husbands of the sisters, that's right.
In the picture, the one that was standing tall is the youngest. And she died at quite a young age, about 50, wasn't she, Jane?
2 or something like that.
50. The one next to her,
Nana.
It's,
who is it?
yeah,
Yes,
it
it's
is.
Nana.
It
In
is.
the middle.
I think that's
Yep, Nana.
that is Auntie Chris, who's
Yep.
in Tasmania.
Yep.
Pardon me. And that's Mabel, who is the mother of Janice, the tall, slim girl that
Yes.
was at the party with her husband Andy.
Andy, yep.
And this was her husband, and that was Chris's husband, who died 6, 7 years ago.
Like that.
Yeah. We went out to Tasmania to see them, and he was alive then, and he took us around in his car, and they said they'd take us to one of the famous watering places, the lake or the river. Was it a lake? No, lake wasn't it? And it was quite a lot of hilly area there, and we came up the hill and had to go down to the lake. And we went round and round and round. Quiet, couldn't hear a pin drop, you see, and we did this. It was quite a long road there, wasn't it? Well, it seemed a long road. I suppose it probably wasn't more than probably nearly a mile, 3/4 of a mile, something of that sort, you see. And then when we got to the bottom, we came round the corner, all hell was at loose. Hey, come on, get on, and they were practising for the Olympics, you see, 8s on the river. And of course all the supporters there cheering them on, you know. And we eventually got down there and found out what was going on. And but going down was as quiet as could be until we got to the bottom, wasn't it? And I say all hell let loose, they were all cheering their boat on. But,
And they were all coming away.
what?
They were all coming
That
away.
was the end. That was the end of procedures, and they started coming away. Yes,
So we turned around and came up
came back
again.
again. Tasmania is the climate is very much like here, and is very much like, if you like, a bit of old England. It hasn't moved on the same as we've moved on here, and I think to some extent, I believe, New Zealand is the same. But I haven't been to New Zealand, so I don't know.
Yeah, New Zealand doesn't want anybody.
Who?
New Zealand,
No.
they don't want anybody.
Well,
You can't buy property there, you can't move there. You can
Really?
come visit,
Yes.
but then you
Is
get
that
to go.
so? Is that so?
So, yep, they don't want anybody down there.
Hmm.
So, very closed off.
Yeah.
Keep it to themselves.
One or two of our friends have visited there and said what lovely country it is. But one of our friends went out there and flew out, then joined a boat which went around the North and South Island, you know, they're using the boat as a hotel and going to the various places of interest. He said it was very nice.
So what did your father do?
My father was a motor engineer, and he was, I think when he married my mother, he was a chauffeur to one of the landed gentry. And war came out, war began in 1914, and I was born in 1914, so he must have married my mother just before the war. She acted as a sort of unqualified auxiliary nurse in one of the hospitals and in London. And his man he drove for, chauffeur, had a big flat there as well as a big country house. And when the war started, of course, there weren't very many men who drove anything at all. I mean, very few people had cars were rich people. And so he went into, he was, Kaiser at that time, when we sent soldiers over there, he referred to them as this contemptible little army, you know, from Great Britain, this contemptible. So they were known as the old contemptibles. Now he was an old contemptible. But he was fortunate, I suppose, in some ways, that because he drove, he went into the Royal Army Service Corps, which was driving vehicles to get stuff on ammunition, food and everything up to near the front line where it was dispersed, and then coming back again to fetch more stuff. And so to that end he wasn't involved in direct combat or fighting with the German troops. I'd say he was lucky to that extent. But I think he had his moments during the war. And I remember him coming home once in uniform and mother greeting him and very pleased to see him. And that was in Fulham, where they lived at the time. Fulham, since we lived there, has become a very upmarket place, and Princess Diana, before she was married with some of her friends, rented a house in one of the roads which in my day was a very mean area. Well, Fulham was quite nice. We had a park there which had tennis courts in. We had a bandstand where the band used to play on Sundays. No one played there anymore. We had 2 football pitches in there. There was a team there was a school to the south, which was a much, well, I say much poorer. It wasn't much poorer, but it was a poorer area than the school where the school lay to the north, where I went to school. You see. And if there was any snow on the ground, it seemed to me that they let them out earlier from the school in the poor area, so that their boys could come across and wait outside our gates with snowballs all ready. So as we came out, shoulder up, shoulder up, shoulder up. And then we had to get the snow up quickly and throw it back again. And they had a football team, and we had a football team. We used to meet them in there. It was a very pleasant place to live. And it was quite near Hurlingham, where had polo ground, tennis court, and quite near the river Putney, where the boat race starts. So my childhood was very happy.